So there it is. So this is much more what I had in mind. I want to be able to see these ropier details. So good enough. So I mean, obviously this looks like a simulation. It's a simulation that would be extremely hard to actually get because it's, again, not really physically based. It's very tight. It still has some organic look because of the unpredictable noise, but it would be very hard to actually achieve this look in a pyrosim. And again, we can always just increase the resolution of this if we wanted to, just by changing it on here. One more aesthetic thing I would like to do, we could do this after the noise thing, which is, oh, that's an attribute wrangler. I need a volume wrangler. Oh my god, what's happening? Volume wrangler. There we go. I'll put that after here. I want to have this kind of fade as it moves up too. You could technically probably do it after the twist also, but I'm going to do it before. It makes it feel better that way. I want the twist to kind of be like the last thing that happens. So I want to say similar concept where I'm going to take the current position in the Y direction and I want to remap it. So I use a fit. So say fit that from 0 to some max height. Sorry. Some max height, and we'll remap that from 0 to 1. And then the density itself will be itself, so times equal. So we'll just scale it by something. We'll use a ramp here too to be extra fancy. We may or may not actually really take advantage of that, but I'm going to have it here anyway. Ramp, density, U. So let's, boom. So the max height, we'll say this is 28 again. And you can see that it's fading from, it's multiplying 0 at the bottom and up to 1 at the top. As before, we could obviously dial anything we wanted into this. That would be weird, but we could. I mean, everything else would still follow, but that's not what we want. All I really want is for it to start dense at the bottom and fade to the top, like so. That's all. Again, this will kind of approximate like diffusion or evaporation if this was a pyrosim. I just want it to fade out towards the top. So nothing crazy there. With that done, put a null down. This will be the out of this. You know, we're going to do a lot more to this as we go, but for now, let's start seeing it rendered. As I've said before, we really need to see this stuff rendered before we continue. So I'll say render middle, go get it, object merge, there you go. I'll turn these ones off. And this one's going to need a pyro shader as well. And again, we'll use the new one, which is the one that doesn't say classic. Pyro shader middle. Be able to copy it, put it on here. Now, this one it does have the light mask on, so be careful. Don't just copy and paste the other one that had light mask turned off. This one we do want the light mask on for. So I'm going to say go over to the render view, render it, see what we get. So, doesn't look like much yet. Let us copy our color that we've been using for stuff. And I'm going to go jump to the actual shader we're using here. So the smoke color can benefit from being this. So I'll paste absolute references. So now it is blue. We could make it twice as thick. We could make it much thicker than that. So that's looking pretty nice. What else can we do here? We can see the light from our sun right now coming in. Let's actually do a volume light this time though. Let's have a light here. I'll actually call this one sun from before. And let's have a new one here called volume inner, meaning this bright, all this bright energy stuff here that we worked on before, all the stuff that was part of the inner chunk, let's have that actually cast light into the scene, meaning let's actually light up this thing. So I'll say on here, the light is a geometry light, which means that geometry, which includes volumes, will cast light. So go to the area light options. A geometry light is considered an area light. Do not normalize light intensity to area, meaning I don't want it to change the light intensity depending on how big the geometry is. Don't cast shadows from itself, from this light. But I do want it to point to the geometry object, which will be, for at least for now, let's have it point to the output of our inner. So come back to this. So there you go. So let's see what this looks like. Now that this is casting light into the scene, it's going to, of course, look a good deal different. It's also going to cast light onto everything. It's going to cast light onto the inner thing itself, as well as middle. So right off the bat, I'm going to say inner should not use that light. So here we are with render inner. For light mask, say don't use volume inner. It can get other lights. It can get the sun. It can get, we're going to make it an environment light too, now that I think about it. But we don't want that. But let's make it brighter. I can't really tell if I'm seeing it. Remember when we set up these image planes before? I can look at the sunlight's contribution. I can look up the inner light's contribution now, which it actually is. That's the volume light there. And then the overall look. So now I can say pump up some more maybe. So that's interesting. Now we can feel the light actually on the inside of this. These dark shapes on the outside, because the light is on the other side of it. It's on the inside. But now these two things feel integrated to me. If I were to take a snapshot here and turn off the inner light, it looks like this. This is now integrated into each other. Now they live in the same world. So keep it on, obviously. Turn off enable in viewport. These lights aren't actually supported in the viewport because they're too complicated. But it still will try to calculate whatever it's pointing to as we scrub around the viewport. So just turn that off. In fact, I'll just hide the sunlight as well. But that's pretty cool, right? So now we've got something. So this is something else we're probably going to want to see rendered in a minute. But let me think while we're here if there's anything else. I would say, actually, let's come right back to it. Turn it on again. Let's look at the material. The actual middle material. Instead of it just being blue, this is now where I want to have two colors. I want it to be color based on the density of the smoke itself. I mean, I'm calling it smoke interchangeably with density or volume, but I hope you understand. So for smoke color, right now it's set to constant. Change it to use ramp. If we use ramp, now we can have, whatever colors we want based off of the density range. So I'm going to say, let's have it be paste relative references. I still have blue here. I guess I'm going to have it be that at the top of the range. Is that what I want to do? No, I want the bottom of the range to be that. So I'm going to click on this one, paste relative references, so that's blue most of the time. Yeah. And then this one's going to become purple. Now I'm not going to do it here because I want this to be on our colors thing here. So copy that parameter, click on this, paste it there, and let's actually change it here. I'm going to start by copying this blue value that we have and just pasting it over to here. And now let's tweak it. Obviously, we can just click through stuff and change it to whatever we want it to. In my case, that's actually super red right there. Wow, that's really cool. I don't want it to be that extreme. Maybe you do. But I am going to start at our blue. And I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. I'm going to make it twice as red, which will bring us into the purple territory. And I'm going to make us not as green, which will make us even more purpley. And that's it. That's all. Now we've got more detail. Now it has more of a mystical feeling to it. You know, smoke doesn't change color. Things in our world typically aren't changing color based on their density. They kind of do. Light might pass through smoke a little bit differently depending on its density. But this is a purple color now. This is a very profound shift in the actual hue of it. So it kind of just has a kind of magical feeling to it now. See the difference? Nothing wrong with this. This just has that much more visual texture though to it. So it's these little things, of course, that can make the difference. So that's pretty cool. Gonna save that, and then we're gonna talk about actually turning on some emission in here too.